Right, so Adam, if we start off talking about you and MANvFAT,
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about yourself first?
Yeah, sure. So I am the coach of MANvFAT Margate, which is a weight loss league based at Margate Football Club, but it's a national organisation. I myself started as a player within that league, and then I took on the coach's role, having gone through the weight loss journey myself.
Yeah, and how much did you lose? Did you lose some before you started, or...?
So I started completely fresh on Valentine's Day, which is a great day to tell them why I got started to play football again. But I started completely fresh. I lost just over 7 stone.
Right. Wow. Okay. Brilliant. Well done. Have you lost it? What have you lost recently, or?
So that was from the period of about the first kind of 4 months. I think I really committed to it and was really kind of hot on all the kind of like weight loss side of it. And the league ties itself into that really well, which I'll explain in more detail in a bit. But I lost about 4.5 to begin with in about 4 to 5 months, and then kind of maintained a bit and lost another 2.5 after that. So all in all, it's 7 stone up to this point.
So how did you hear about MANvFAT?
So it was literally just before Christmas, so 2021. I think I saw an advert on Facebook, and it kind of pitched itself as come along and play football, which I've wanted to do for ages. But you don't want to turn up to like maybe a leisure league scenario, and I like leisure leagues, but you don't know what the quality is going to be, and it could be incredibly high, and you find yourself a bit out of place. And this league kind of pitched itself as, look, the football's a secondary element, just come down and start getting fitter, and that kind of takes the pressure off of worrying about if you turn up, how good you're going to be on the ball compared to others, etc. Which is ironic because the quality itself is high at the league. But it was from that point I signed up, and then we kicked off in February.
Yeah, I mean, when I come to watch your game versus Sand United a few weeks ago, not your recent one, the one just before that, you wasn't there, I don't think.
No, I was in Greece at the time.
But to be honest, I was turning up and I weren't expecting the standard to be that great. But I was quite surprised at the standard, to be quite honest.
Yeah. I think the really incredible thing to see as well is people kind of assume that if you're going to be bigger, maybe the quality's going to be slower or not as good. But actually, your weight really has no bearing on how good you are at football. We've got guys who are slimmer who aren't as good as guys who are bigger, but it's just a good mix at the moment, and the standard is up there, I'd say.
Do you have to be a certain size to start? Because there's questionable people where I look at them and I'm like, well, maybe you should be playing for them.
So the interesting thing with that is to kind of get started, you have to be, your BMI has to be 27.5 or over. Right. So to put that into context, the NHS define anything as over 25 as overweight. Now that's a very broad spectrum because we all carry weight differently, some of us have got more muscle, etc. But in theory, 27.5 is where we go. If you come below that and you end up losing weight and you achieve your goal, the nice thing about the platform and the programme is they don't say, right, you're done, please leave. They understand that quite often keeping fit and staying healthy is actually an ongoing process, so you stay in the programme to kind of maintain. And then when you've got a good core ethos set up, what you hope to have is the players who have reached that journey then encourage new people coming in. And I was saying the other day to a friend of mine, actually, the thing I really like to see about the league is we often have guys come in, and they can be on any part of the spectrum, but let's just say we have a typical guy come in, he's overweight, he comes in on the first kind of week, and he's a bit quiet, he may not know himself, but he's a bit nervous and he's a bit shy, and after 2 or 3 weeks he starts losing a little bit of weight, and from that first week he was there, he's got the encouragement on the pitch. Everyone's always like, well in, good job, great shot, etc. And about 3 or 4 weeks in, we have a new player come in, and you hear in the background, well in, good job. And it's that new guy 4 weeks ago who was shy, who wasn't talking, who's now lost half a stone and is actually the one encouraging the new people coming in. And I think as long as we've got that weight loss there, but the new guys are always encouraging as they come through, as long as the core is around that weight loss, it doesn't matter where you are on your journey because we're all supporting each other in it. Yeah. And I think that really helps.
That's one thing I noticed when you were playing, and Sand United as well, but both teams were, if you had a player that missed a shot, there was no moaning whatsoever. Or a misplaced pass, there was no moaning, where you watch Sunday League, you see it all the time, don't you?
Yeah, we've played some teams kind of like Sunday League-esque, I would say. I won't mention any names, but some of them, you think, oh, they're going to be aggy with us, and actually, they're fine with us, but they are tearing each other a new one. You're thinking, Jesus, calm down a bit, because most people, I think, if you get that negative reaction, your head normally drops. Normally, I think it's the positive reaction that's going to get you up to playing and gear you up, isn't it? So that's what we're all about. It's just positive reinforcement and weight loss, really.
That's pretty cool. If you don't mind, do you mind saying what you weighed before you started to now? Or?
Yeah, sure. So when I started, I was literally the first official weight. I was just under the 20 stone mark. Yeah. So the reason I signed up was in my mind, I always saw 20 stone as like, as long as I was under 20 stone, I was okay. That was like my benchmark. And that Christmas, I went over 20 stone, and I thought, that's I've got to fix this now. So I started just under 20 stone, 19 stone 10, and I now weigh 12 stone 10, so 7 stone exact.
That's insane.
And how long has it taken overall to get from that? So when you started in February 2022 to now, that's where you've lost the 7 stone, just over a year?
Yeah, literally just under a year. The thing that MANvFAT does that's really nice is you've got the local stuff, like we do at Margate every single week, but they also do kind of more things on top of that. So they've got their official 11s tournament, but they also have a yearly event called the Annual Losers Game or the Amazing Losers Game, and there's different criteria every year. But this year it was people who've lost the most weight in the programme since it started. And I turned up with 46 kilograms lost, thinking, this should be quite good, I should hopefully be here now. And we had guys that had lost 70 kilograms,
Jesus.
Which is absolutely insane. But what they did to kind of like showcase that was we got to play at Bet 365 Stadium, where Stoke obviously play.
Nice.
And we got to play 11-a-side match up there for the day. And it was just a real celebration of kind of like the weight loss side of it. And you had all these guys turn up and just enjoy that. And having those kind of rewards for putting the effort in, make sure that when you lose the weight, you're keeping it off. So it's always like an ongoing journey. You don't just kind of lose it and go, right, I'm done, and then put on 3 stone because you've hit that goal. You're always readjusting your goals, so it keeps you going.
So what sort of, when you join MANvFAT, what sort of like tools or motivations are in place to help people lose weight? So like you've got the football side of it, haven't you? Obviously a lot of fitness involved there. Do they have anything that goes alongside it? Like do they recommend a certain way they should be eating, or is there any other motivations that can go into them keeping on track every week? Yeah,
so with the actual programme itself, you have the weekly weigh-ins and then you have the football side of it, as you say. But we also have the online stuff as well. There's a virtual platform called The Dugout, which includes an online gym, so there's online classes, there's recipes and directions as well, and there's also a mental health foundation called COA Foundations, which helps with mental health support. But the thing that I find helps the most is, and I personally try not to give too much guidance or advice in terms of what you should be doing, because I think ultimately most people know what they should be doing and it's just a case of doing it.
Yeah.
But I find often when you say to guys, you need to be doing this for yourself, they often don't. And we often put things in the back burner and say, well, no, family comes first, or I've got to do this, I've got to do that. But when you start saying do things for others, like do things as part of the team, what you're going to do is going to help the team, that's when we really kind of dig in and start helping out. Yeah. So what we kind of push is a real team spirit, and that leads itself to weight loss, because you're there kind of in your WhatsApp groups going, right, we're playing this team this week, they're a tough team on the pitch and we might struggle to beat them, but if we do well on the scales we could overturn the result. So they all kind of support each other throughout the week, making sure they're keeping hot on it. And then it comes to scale time, and I think last week we had the weigh-in and one of the teams between them lost 21 kilos. So that is 10 players, 21 kilos, 2.1 kilos, that's 4 pounds over a 2-week gap. So they all lost 4 pounds in 2 weeks, all done in a healthy way, but that helped them win that match against a team that they probably would have lost against if they didn't put that effort in. So that really helps.
Because they get like a goal advantage based on how much they've lost, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. So the league, there's 2 sides of it. You have the pitch side of it, which is how you do on the pitch, whether you win 2-0 or you lose 4-0, and then you have the weight loss side of it. So the weight loss side of it, you score bonus goals based on certain things. So if you lose weight every week, you score half a goal for your team, so that rounds up. So it's 1 goal if it's an odd number. If you track what you're eating for the week, it's 1/3 of a goal for your team, and again, that rounds up. So if you're hot on it and you're all kind of losing weight, or the most of you are losing weight, and you're all tracking what you're eating, you can kind of go into that fixture with 4 or 5 goals going into it. And if the other team hasn't done as well, they might only go in with 3 goals going into it. So then if you lose on the pitch, you could still have that result. But it means that even if you're quite close on the pitch, which all of our games are, it always pushes you. Yeah. So last season, for example, is a 14-week season, and I think I've got it written down here, we lost between 60 players 245 kilograms between 60 guys in 14 weeks. And that was just them pushing each other, whether it's in the team saying, let's do it together, or whether it's against an opponent where they know they need to do well on the scales. So, the weight loss in the league's been incredible.
That's so good. That's so good.
It's a very, very good way of getting people to stay fit and obviously lose weight at the same time.
Some of the team names are pretty impressive.
I've
noticed. If I can hang on 2 seconds, where are they?
Yeah, it's my absolute favourite part.
I've got them here. You got... So top of your league is Olympic Mayonnaise.
Yeah, so they were last season's winners. They won the combined league last season and the weight league and the cup as well.
And you got Parmesan Belgrade.
Yeah.
Whale Madrid. Atletico Satsumos.
Yeah.
FC 20 McNuggets.
Yeah, that's a new team this season. Love that name.
That's a good one.
That one. Incredible Bulks.
Last season's scale winners, Incredible Bulks. It went down to goal difference across all the league. It was very, very tight.
And you got effing lot to lose.
Yeah.
That's who. Does Matt play for them?
Yes, Matt does.
Yeah. Who do you play for?
So I don't play in the league anymore. I played previously, so I just do the 11s now.
Right.
But we changed the teams up, but I played for two teams, which was Munch and Dadbod, which was quite good, and Carlisle United.
So do they have to be food-related names, or is it just what everyone
they
does?
could literally just be red team, but no, everyone makes it up. But I will just do a little plug and say, if you check out our Instagram, we've got all the team badges on there, and if you think the name's good, the team badges are even better.
Yeah, no, I've seen the McNuggets one.
Yeah.
Yeah, FC. What is it?
20 McNuggets.
That's it,
FC 20 McNuggets. I'll have to go and have a look at that.
Yeah.
So you coach now. Is there room for more players? Is it, or they could? I'm guessing as many can get join as they want, because it just creates more teams. Is that how it works, or is there a limit to how many you can have?
So the way it kind of works, we started out as a 4-team league, and in theory that is 10 players per team, and the idea is that there's room for subs, or if you can't make it each week, we play 6 aside. And more often than not, you probably get about 8 people turning up. So it's a nice little balance of having subs and people playing. Some weeks you get 10 turning up, and it's a bit hard going because everyone obviously wants the minutes. So when we get a bit full like that, we look to expand. So we went from 4 to 6 teams. And then we kind of did something that's a bit unheard of in MANvFAT, which is we went from 6 to 8 teams in less than a season because we had so much demand there for wanting to play. And the club itself was voted as the best MANvFAT club in the Southeast region, basically. That's an accolade that we won. So we're now at 8 teams. We've got a little bit of space from having gone to 8 teams. But yeah, pretty much if people want to join, we can get them involved in one way or another.
Yeah.
But it's just all positive at the moment.
So when I said earlier about do you have to be a certain size to join, what about if you lose too much weight? If you lose too much weight and you become a certain size, do you then have to leave, or can you stay?
No, so the good thing about it as well is I think everyone understands that typically being on any kind of weight loss, and I don't like to use the word journey, but being on any kind of like weight loss journey is it's not a linear thing. You don't sign up, lose weight, job done, you leave. You know, you've got a life, things happen, you often go up and down, and it's more about having that ongoing support. So having hit what should be my BMI, I'm currently in what they call maintenance mode, which means I've hit where I should be and now I need to be maintaining it. And that has its own separate kind of challenges and motivation and things that you need as much as losing weight does. They're two separate entities. But
what's harder?
Do you know, it's difficult because losing weight is difficult, but if you've got the league around you pushing you, it becomes easier because you kind of got that hyper focus of I'm doing it. And when you're in that mindset, it's really easy to do. But when you come out of that mindset for whatever reason, such as hitting BMI, it then struggles because you have to redefine those goals and find that focus. And it sounds really stupid, but to kind of give it like a tail behind it. Let's say, for example, you sat there and there's a donut on the table. If you're in the league and you've got a tough match on Monday, 2 days' time, you think, do you know what, I won't have it because I've got this big game and maybe I'll treat myself after the game. But when you hit maintenance and you think, well, I could have it, couldn't I? Because what's there to lose, really?
Yeah.
And it's making sure you don't have that mentality too frequently, otherwise you kind of come up. So it's tricky, but probably losing weight is harder to start with, I would say. But when you're in that frame of mind, that's the key.
I mean, go on.
Do you find as well, because I went through a stage of really healthy eating, going to the gym a lot, I've let myself go a little bit now, but what I found is after a while, the food that I used to enjoy didn't appeal to me in the same way.
Yeah,
like the junk food just and the healthier food that I didn't like before actually started to taste nicer.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. And the thing that I kind of notice now as well is, and I can equate it to kind of like the sweet tooth aspect, is previously I would eat quite a lot of sweet food without even thinking about it. You know, it could be biscuits here, pancakes, all that kind of stuff, and I didn't really notice it. Whereas now, if I just eat healthily and then I have something like fruit, for example, or fruit and yogurt, it's actually a bit of a treat because I'm not used to that level of sweetness. And I think, actually, that's quite nice. Whereas if you gave it to me 2 years ago, I'd be like, Greek yogurt and fruit, it's a bit like, can you not put any sort of sugar or honey or something in it to kind of like bring it up? But yeah, definitely your taste buds change. And there's certain foods I think you always look at and enjoy. I mean, like, I do quite like a kebab. You know,
you know what? I was going to use kebab as an example. Do you miss them? Do you still eat them?
So the thing with kebab is it's a bit like a salad. Is you can eat quite a healthy kebab because ultimately it's just grilled meat, really. And grilled meat and salad and the bread itself is fine. But it's when you start going, do you know what? let's put on all the sauces. Have you got any halloumi as well, actually, a bit on the side? And before you know it, you've tripled what it could be.
Yeah.
So I think it's finding that balance of having a lifestyle change, because if you go, I'm not going to eat anything bad, you're going to go back, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're going to go, right, I've met my goal, let's start eating bad things again. But if you go, do you know what, I'm just going to change my lifestyle, and I'm not going to eat all the kebabs I used to, but I'm going to eat my version now of a healthier kebab, or you know, I'm going to have a sweet treat, but it's not going to be every day of the week, for example. If you find that balance, that's where it becomes a lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, I've got friends who I won't mention their names. The reason they're bigger than me, and I eat what I want when I want. I don't diet at all, but they're a lot bigger than me. And I've realised what you've just said. Basically, if we order the same thing, they will get all the sides with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we'd get a burger and chips. I'd just get a burger and chips. He'd get a burger, chips, onion rings, milkshake, like all the other stuff. Where I'm like, I can't believe you can eat that. That's the difference, I think. And because he used to say to me, how can you eat what you eat and you don't put weight on? Because I'm not skinny, but I don't put weight on and I don't really lose it. But I will. If I get a Big Mac, I'll just eat a Big Mac and chips.
Yeah.
But I will buy the 20 chicken nuggets, but I won't eat them all. Where my mate will eat them all, no problem. Do you know what I mean? That's the difference.
Yeah. I think as well, when it comes to things like that, and you look down that route, McDonald's is an absolute killer for it. But let's say you have like the burger and then the nugget, because the way McDonald's is, the way it's like created in general, is you'll soon find over a bit of time that Big Mac and nuggets actually isn't enough, and you'll go Big Mac nuggets side cheeseburger. Before you know, your order gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you say, coming back to the healthy food, it's crazy when you look at breaking down calories, because I could eat 3 meals a day, all very large portions, all very filling, all healthy and quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it'd be like 1,100 to 1,500 calories, and I've got room for snacks and treats and everything. Or I could go to McDonald's for lunch and I've hit 1,200 calories and all I've had is a burger and fries, and I'm starving after that, and I eat my rest of the meals and I've done 4,000 calories without even thinking about it.
Well, and that's what you was doing when you was at your biggest, would you say?
I think what I was doing at my biggest, without even realising it, was every meal was an event meal. So, and I think it also kind of ties in, depending on what you do at home, or like if you're dating or if you live by yourself. I think if you've got a spouse, quite often, or even kids, what you do is you kind of go, let's have breakfast, lunch and dinner, and every meal becomes quite big. Whereas when you're like on the go, or you live by yourself, whatever, you might not miss a meal as such, but you might grab something smaller or quicker. But all of a sudden, when you're with other people, you're like, what should we have for dinner tonight? And you're there on like a Tuesday night cooking duck breast at home with like garlic potatoes and all the cream, etc. And you're thinking, what am I doing? It's a Tuesday night, and this is the most outlandish meal it could be. So what I try to do now is I try to just stay organised in the week, have healthy meals, not even really think about it, because they're just, at the end of the day, it's energy, isn't it? And then when I go to things like the weekends or social occasions, that's where I can enjoy myself. And I like doing that, because it means you can enjoy it more, because you're going out to the restaurant and you're having a nice meal and you're going to order whatever you want, have that nice dessert. And I'd much rather go to a restaurant and have a really nice dessert and enjoy it than accidentally cane a packet of biscuits at home because I opened them up and thought, actually, I'll just eat the whole lot for the hell of it. Why not? Yeah. So it's finding that balance for me.
I think a lot of it, for me, boredom.
Yeah.
When I'm bored, I'll go and eat. I'm not even hungry. And I'm looking around in the cupboards and the fridge, there's nothing that I want, but I will just eat stuff. I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I work from home, so that was a bit like it for me as well. As you, or even just like procrastination, you think, oh, I've got to do this thing, but I can't be bothered, and you find yourself on a little trip. You're gonna make a coffee, and before you know it, that coffee's turning what's in the cupboards and what's here, etc. Yeah.
But going back to MANvFAT, how big is it across the country?
So it's nationwide at the moment. It's across Scotland. I think Northern Ireland's just starting to kick off. Wales and England. There's, at last count, there's 171 clubs, all of varying sizes. Some are only 2 teams and kind of trying to get bigger. Some are 8 teams. I think the biggest is Swansea, which is 10 teams. And they're also launching as a trial, I think, at the moment. There's Down Under in Australia. There's kind of taking that concept and they're running with it a little bit as well. So it's quite big.
And do you play other MANvFATs?
Yeah, so there's 2 sides of that. What we do on the 11 side is you've got the official 11s competition where you play against other teams inside a league that's structured and has the chance to kind of win some silverware. But you also have kind of like unofficial friendlies. So this weekend, for example, one of the Margate teams are going to go play the Chatham team in Sandwich. Yeah. And it's quite nice because you kind of know what to expect in terms of who you're playing against. And it's not so much about how much you weigh or how good you are at football, but it's just the ethos that comes with the club. You know that you go and turn up and it's typically going to be a well-spirited game, everyone's there for the kind of right reasons, and it's just a well-played out affair typically.
Do you ever get any trouble?
There's been a couple of games that I won't name names, but there's been a couple of games that have been interesting and were an eye opener for us from 11.
Was one a few weeks ago?
Yes, yeah, it was. Yeah,
I've heard about that.
Yeah, it was. It was a club that I think lived up to the reputation of their local name, but we're there for kind of the right reasons. I think that particular match was quite nice because our guys didn't react to anything that was on offer there in terms of the agginess that was present, and we just turn up. We want to play football basically, and at the moment we do the league on a Monday for weight loss. We do the 11s, which is usually 2 or 3 times a month, depending on fixtures. But we also play Wednesdays and Thursdays. Wednesday we play at Margate Cages, and then Thursdays we play at Sandwich. And it's either 7 or 8 side or 11s, depending on numbers. And at the moment we've got 70 guys in the league, and every week we're filling out all those spaces because people just want to play football in an environment that's supportive. And you can get better at playing football because everyone's trying to support you. You know, if someone's head drops, you should kind of G them up and be like, come on, you get the next one, etc. So
and I'm guessing there's a lot of people out there that will only go down the football route. Like for me, gyms aren't for me. I won't go out running. Football is the only thing I will do. And I'm guessing I'm not the only one that's like that. So it's quite a good option for them people.
I think the thing that comes with that as well, and that was the same for me, is a lot of the times when you're playing football, you're not trying to lose weight or get healthier, you're just playing football because you want to, and the byproduct of that is losing weight. And what's quite nice about the league is we're always kind of weight based first, but it isn't in your face. But you sometimes get sign-ups to come in because they want to play football, and sometimes they think, oh, is it going to be easy here, a slower pace or whatever, and it really isn't. But they come in and you can see they're a bit of football first, but 2 or 3 weeks into the season they realise that they've either lost a key match or they could be doing better in the league, and they're like, well, what can I do to change this? And you say, well, the scale side of it's important, and then all of a sudden some of those people who were coming kind of thinking I just want to play football end up being some massive weight losers because the competition drives you.
Yeah, and you don't want to let your team down.
No, exactly, you don't want to let your team down 100%.
So we've obviously, is it a couple of things, is it a subscription based team, or is it can you just turn up, as in, do you have to pay monthly, or do you have to, and what sort of do you get with that when you sign up? Do you get like, do you get eating plans, do you get anything like that included, or what?
Yeah, so it's an ongoing rolling subscription every month, so it's not a direct debit, which means that you're not tied into kind of any sort of contract. It's not a case of you've got to sign up for the whole season, which is 3 months, for example. So you sign up monthly, it's £31 a month, which includes your football every single week, but that also includes me as a coach, our qualified referee who's there every week, and then you've got your online platform, which is Kerr Foundations, which is for mental health help. You've also got your online MANvFAT gym, which is basically online sessions that can help, whether it's cardio, weightlifting, kind of whatever your goals are with that. And then you've also got your online recipe base as well, where it goes through all of these kind of aspects. But what we do every week as well is we do challenges to kind of keep us kind of communicative, but also on the ball. So some challenges, for example, we might do a weekly steps challenge, which team can walk the most steps. And I will say we did one over 2 weeks, and the winning team walked 3.5 million steps between them in 2 weeks, which was absolutely insane. But we also do like food-based challenges. So one of the favourite challenges that we do is we do a Formula 1 style food challenge, where every day for a week I post up a photo of a food, and you have to guess how many calories are in that. And the nearest 10 guesses get points, as in you would for Formula 1. At the end of the week, the team with the most points gets bonus goals for their team on the scales, and the player who wins that challenge gets bonus points as well. But it keeps everyone guessing, and it subtly kind of teaches you about food and the calories that go into it, because some people look at a dish and go, that's got to be 600-700 calories, and you're like, actually that's 200. And they look at another dish and think, oh, it's got to be 300-500 calories, and you're actually, no, it's 1900. So that's the kind of stuff that we do. We're always communicating, always kind of keeping that spirit alive, I would say, as the club, to keep us going.
It's a really good initiative, I think, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Like Josh was saying, a lot of people, they might not be into going to the gym, going for a run, but they do like their football. I think it's brilliant. So
it works.
What's like the average age? Because I can imagine it being a bit more daunting towards the older generation.
I absolutely love our league because we have no average age, I would say. Our youngest player is 18, our oldest player is 66. We have 2 sets of father and sons in the league, and one of them kind of signed up and was a bit wary about signing up because he wasn't sure what it was going to be like. But he played his first 11s game the other day and absolutely loved it. And he played his first 11s game against his son, who plays in another 11s team for MANvFAT. And it was just a really nice thing to go, do you know what, we're facilitating father and son playing together on the pitch.
Who won?
At the moment. We lost that game. So they got bragging rights, but we're replaying them this weekend. So hopefully we'll turn that around.
Yeah.
So is there a minimum age to join?
Is 18 is the minimum age.
18 is the minimum age, yeah.
Just minimum BMI. So it's literally male 18 and 27.5 BMI.
Okay.
And how do they join? Like if someone's listening now and think that's a bit of me.
So they can sign up direct on the website, which is MANvFATfootball.org / and then you can put in Margate if you want to come locally, or if you're anywhere across the country, you just go onto MANvFATfootball.org and put in your postcode, and it will bring up your nearest club within the area. If you wanted to chase us up on Instagram and message me, I can also share some exclusive discount codes to get that first month a little bit cheaper.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay. Is there anything coming up to look forward to? Is there any big events coming up? Or?
So we've just started the league going to 8 teams. So at the moment, the exciting thing is seeing the kind of new teams bed in and see how that goes. But we've just put a team forward for the official 11s tournament as well. Last year, that was set up to be played at the Etihad Stadium, or the training facility, sorry, as kind of the winning tournament behind that. So we've just put in for that. So that's the thing to watch out for at the moment.
Right. Okay. All right. If we have you got any questions regarding MANvFAT or?
So yeah, just quickly. So you was going on yourself. You said that you started off with the 6er side, and then you moved over to the 11er side of it. Do you find that a lot of people that are taking part in it do choose to do that, or they choose to stay in the 6er side?
It's a real mix. I mean, so everyone's in the 6er side by default, but it's up to you how much extra football you want to take on. And at the moment we have the league nights, which are kind of 28, 30-minute games on a Monday night, and that is where you come in and you weigh in officially. Then on the Wednesdays we have 6er side, where you often find new players coming into it will join those extra football sessions because they're a step up and they're an hour long, and we don't normally have breaks, but it's a fitness step up and it kind of gets you ready. And then on Thursdays we kind of do like 11s prep and playing as well. But what's really nice is a lot of people who've never played 11s before who think, do you know what, I kind of want to give it a go. It's in a nice environment to do that in, and everyone's encouraging you to get involved. So even if you've never played 11s before, people kind of dip their toe in the water, and it's either for them or it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, playing 11s personally, I really enjoy playing in the cages, and it's fitness-wise, the ball never goes out. So it's an hour-long intensive game. But 11s is a whole different kettle of fish, because all it takes is like 1 or 2 long sprints, and you feel more niggles, don't you? More niggles than knocks. So it's all kind of what's in your own abilities, I would say.
That's so cool. I'm really impressed with that. I didn't know about it until a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, it's so
the best thing I like is, and I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, is it right that every player that's lost weight before the 6-side game, you get half a goal?
Yeah.
So if all your team have lost weight, that's 3 goals. If the other team have lost none, you're 3-0 up before the game started.
If you have, let's say, 8 people weigh in, so that'd be 4 goals for weighing in, the all lost team. If you've all lost team, I'll give an extra bonus goal, because it's quite a hard thing to do to make sure you're all doing it. It shows you're doing it well. But yeah, we had a team in season 3, where they had been there since season 1. They'd struggled with players coming in and out. They hadn't really set up a good squad. Matt, who you mentioned, was one of the team in that team as well, and they basically went from being the bottom of the table for 2 seasons in a row to absolutely nailing the scales. They got featured nationally in the newspaper for it, but they nailed the scales in that season 3, and they won the league. And I don't think they would mind me saying they weren't the best team on the pitch, but all their efforts off the pitch made them win the overall combined league, and it's proof and testament that it works, really.
That's a good advert, really, for it, isn't it, and what it's all about.
And what's nice with our league as well is that every year, or every season I should say, a different team has won it, so it's really close. So when you have teams play each other, you can't for certain say, this is going to be the result, you know, because the scales play the part, who's playing on the pitch at that week plays the part, and it's seeing it as a close thing is a very good thing as a neutral to kind of be part of.
With in terms of statistics, going back to what you said, the team that wins the league isn't necessarily the best team on the pitch, but they can, more than do it on the scales. Individuals, I'm thinking top goal scorers, if they, the goals they achieve from the scales, does that count towards their tally for the season?
So yeah, when we look at goals and individual top scorers for the season, we don't actually take on any pitch stuff at all.
Right. Okay,
so you could be an absolutely amazing goal scorer on the pitch, but because we're weight loss first, we focus on how well you've done on the scales. So the maximum that you can score in a season as an individual is 17 goals on the scales, which is made up of losing weight every week for 14 weeks, so that's your 7 goals. And it's made up of hat tricks, which means you lose weight 3 times. not necessarily in a row, just every 3 times you lose weight. So the maximum you can score for that is 4 a season. Yep. So that brings us to 11. And then you can score 2 milestone bonuses every season, which is basically hitting a 5 or 10% marker of
I was just about to ask
body
about
loss.
that. Yeah.
So if you lose 5% of your body weight, you get 3 bonus goals. So for really important fixtures, you see that players are really hot on it, because if 1 or 2 of you can hit that milestone, that's 6 goals. You know,
before you even start the game.
Before you even started the game, you know. So that really G's people up, and having those markers where you're getting rewarded with that for goals and with a certificate, and having them so close together, you know, if you're really hot on it, you could probably hit those milestones. You could hit 2 in a season. Yeah. And on the scale, it's great. It's had that impact. But on your actual life and your physical appearance and your health, losing just 5% of your body weight has so many proven benefits behind it. So losing 10 in 3 months is game changing. Really.
So you could be unlucky and play a team that has got a couple of players that are just about to hit their milestones, and they go into that game with 6 goals. Yeah. Just because it just happens to be you're the team they're playing at the time they're losing their milestones.
Last season, we had a team, the white team, they won the Combined League, the Scale League, and the Cup. Sorry, the Combined League, the Pitch League, and the Cup. But they missed out on the Scale League because they played their main contender in that season, which was the Greens. And the Greens hit so many milestones in that game, they created a goal deficit that they couldn't overturn, basically.
So there's no limit to the amount. So say you had 6 people in that team that hit their milestone that week.
Yeah, in theory, it'd be very.
That's the start of an 18-goal league.
Yeah. It hasn't happened yet. That hasn't happened yet, but yeah, in theory. Yeah. But it's that.
Do you know what? Mourinho would make sure that happens. Tactically, he would make sure.
But you'd be a bit buggered though after that, because you'd all do it that first week. So you've got to think season long as well, because there's a lot of games in the season. But yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Like, there's going to be certain teams that will do really well at first, because everyone knows it's easier to lose weight at first, and it does slow down normally, doesn't it? You're going to get the teams that say win the league off the scales, things like that. They probably won't do so well on the scales the following year, will they? Do you think? Does it work like that?
It all depends, because you're right. I think losing weight does slow down, but I think it's slowing down for 2 reasons. One, you might adjust slightly to that new system, so you know, you playing more football means you're probably going to exert yourself less playing that, so you're burning less calories doing that. But also, I think where you might be more strict with yourself to begin with, as you start to see the results, I think it's only human nature to go, oh, shall we? I will, have that treat. I wouldn't have had that 3 weeks ago, but I will have it now because you've introduced it. And to break it down to get scientific, to burn or to lose roughly 1 pound of fat, you have to be in excess or in deficit of 3,500 calories. So if you burn 3,500 calories, whether that's through dieting or through additional exercise, you will lose that pound of fat. And that's pretty concrete. It's around that kind of spectrum. So if you keep that up, in theory, you should lose weight consistently. But human mindset is often, when you get to where you're happy with, you introduce more things. So even if you have, say, an extra 200 calories a day, well, that's 2,100 extra calories a week. So you will see it slow down, because where you might have lost a pound a week before and you've only lost half a pound now, it's because you've tweaked your diet,
So just to finish off with all that side of it, how did you lose so much weight in? It's a still small amount of time, isn't it, to lose 7 stone? So just dieting and football.
So for me, there was 2 parts to it. One was tracking what I was eating, and I was quite religious with it, to be honest with you. And I was really quite hot on it. I was weighing out the meals to make sure I knew what I was having, and it was all kind of making sure I was within that limit. Because if you know what's coming in, you can kind of know what's going out, etc. So that was really quite hot. But it was also, in the time that I played, I was against 2 other players who pretty much matched me for weight loss and for keeping on top of it, and having them as rivals kind of pushing me every single week in that season really kind of pushes you forward. And a lot of people say, your team helps you push you forward, and they keep you, G'd up, and they do, but your rivals keep you just on your toe, as much on your toes as your team do. So you've got to respect everyone in the league, because if there wasn't a competition there, then there's nothing really to play for, is there? So it's your teammates help, but having those rivals there is key as well.
So how I'm picturing it now is you all turn up to Margate 5s looking in the other cage going, oh, they've lost weight. Is that how it is? He's lost weight.
Honestly, so the weight loss, I've got it written down here, the weight loss across our league since we started. So we started February, Valentine's Day last year, which was a great sale to the wife. But we lost 807.3 kilograms since then. Last week we had a 2-week break, and we launched as 8 teams, and we lost 50.2 kilograms in 2 weeks between 60 of our players. So on average, we all lost over a kilo each in 2 weeks, which is just incredible.
Yeah,
really.
That's amazing. Is there any? It's probably not the right word. Is there any punishments for people that put on weight?
So we have an own goal system, which it basically works out on if you go above your starting weight for the season, so your initial weigh-in, you will score an own goal, which means that you get a goal against you.
And that can happen a few times, obviously, throughout the season.
But it changes in the sense that if you score that own goal, yeah, you got it. But next week, if you lose weight but you're still above your start weight, you don't score an own goal because you've lost weight. So we don't penalise any kind of weight loss at all. But if you go above your starting weight, you get that own goal. Because I feel it's important. You have to have some kind of, like you say, punishment is the wrong kind of word, but you have to have some sort of incentive to not go over.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So it hasn't happened before, but in the same way that you could turn up and score 18, bonus goals from 6 of you hitting those milestones, well, if you turn up and 6 of you scored an own goal, that's a pretty bleak start, isn't it? Yeah. So you don't want that. So people make sure that they try to stay within the realms of that. The first few weeks of the season are always a bit tricky for own goals because you're so close to your starting weight, but usually most people get breathing distance after a week or two, and then it becomes less of an issue.
So, with regards to the sixer side, it's very much weight loss first, football second. When you move over to the 11er side, is there still that element to it, or would it be more football first there, with keeping fit?
At the moment, we've got kind of 2 teams at the moment for 11s. We've got kind of the first team that was set up, and we'll call them the A team just for the benefit of the fact that they're the first team that's set up. Then we've got the second team that was set up, which became the B team. The reason that we had to have 2 teams was we had so many people interested in playing 11s in the first place, which is incredible to see. I mean, you hear about people trying to form 11s teams, and they struggle to find the numbers for a match. We would get like 30 people saying, I'll play that game. So we had to kind of split it. And where we split it, the first side, the A side, kind of went, right, we'll go a bit more football first and see how we can kind of win fixtures, and we'll pull up players that are doing well at the time, whether it's through weight loss or doing well on the pitch, they'll be pulled up for whatever reason. And then we'll have the second team there that are basically, it's, again, obviously you want to win, but it's a mixture of, we almost like feed back and forth, so we have that kind of inter-transfer aspect of it.
Yeah.
So the side that are doing kind of going pitch first at the moment, they've just joined the 11s competition nationally to see how they get on there. And then we've got the B side that are kind of finding their feet, setting up their teams at the moment, but we feed people into that. But the good thing to see about it is, although we don't really take weights or anything like that at the 11 side stuff, the ethos of just supporting each other carries on through. So it isn't like you're playing 6 aside on a Monday and we're all going, great, well done, doing a great job, and then on the Saturday you're screaming at each other like, that's a terrible ball, why aren't you passing this, that's awful. We have none of that. It's all positive reinforcement and just supporting each other, which then comes back full circle into the weight loss side of it.
So I guess, like, on top of the weight loss, on top of playing football, it also builds quite a nice community against the people involved as well.
Yeah. I think our club spirit in Margate is absolutely second to none. I mean, the stuff that we've achieved as a club is absolutely unbelievable. We've do fundraising as well. We've raised, I think, over £3,000-4,000 for lots of different charities and causes. Our 11s kits were purchased directly by people within the club. 2 players within the club said, you know what, we'll actually, we believe in the club, we believe in the community, we'll pay for the kits, don't worry about sponsorship or putting any logos on there, we just want to support them. And they bought 2 full kits for the team. I mean, there's so many different elements of the club come together as community, support each other. It's
do you have like one night at the end of the year where you all meet up, or?
So we did, it's going to be. I'm already organised this year's because there's so many of us now. You've got to get in advance. But last year we went to Margate Leisure to do the axe throwing there, and I'll give them a shout out because there was about 30 of us who turned up at the time, and they were absolutely brilliant. We turned up. It was the World Cup final, and we did axe throwing. They did homemade pizzas, which were absolutely fantastic. Had the World Cup final, and they had lots of games going on. And for a large group of people, it's always hard to organise something. Yeah. They made it absolutely seamless, and it's a great venue to go to if you're ever thinking, what should you do? Whether you're a couple or there's like 20 of you, they're absolutely brilliant.
I've been there as a group before with some friends, and it's a good night out.
Good,
It's a good night out.
Good. Happy to move on now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so on to general football now, hot topics. De Gea has left United.
Yes.
As a free agent after being there for 12 years, 545 appearances, 190 clean sheets. What do you all think about that?
Well, now, this is the first time, I think it's in 30 years, that United haven't had a Premier League winner in their squad.
Really?
Yeah, the whole squad has not one Premier League winner in it now. De Gea was the last one.
Yeah.
From
2013. He was the longest serving, wasn't he, at the moment? That was what they were saying. But I still think, mate, he's a fantastic goalkeeper. I think He's been overshone by a few mistakes he's made the last few seasons.
And it doesn't help as well. Like it's probably a bit of back and forth. A goalkeeper instills confidence in the rest of the team to go forward and attack, you know? And if he is shaky, that can then maybe not help players like Harry Maguire that have been struggling. But then on the flip side of that, if Harry Maguire's struggling, it might knock De Gea's confidence when he then makes a mistake because of him.
I think the way football has changed has affected goalkeepers such as De Gea, Petr Cech. They're all now. You've got your goalkeeper's got to be as good on the ball as your centre mid.
Yeah.
And Petr Cech and De Gea, when they've been brought up as a goalkeeper through their youth, it's stop the ball going in the goal.
Yeah.
That's all you've got to do.
Yeah.
Now you've got to be able to touch the ball, kick it 30 yards, 5-yard pass, play it out from the back. And I think it's starting to show. Like when I went up to watch Arsenal United, when the ball went back to him, he looked nervous. He looked shaky, and I thought he won't be at United much longer because football's moved on.
Then the player they got coming in for him, Onana, he's great with the ball at his feet. He's a product of the Barcelona academy. He's going to be, do you know? So
see, I think when Fergie first left, everyone looked at De Gea like he was like the talisman, and he held together quite a shaky team, and he did a lot of key saves that meant that they weren't as bad as they could have been. But I feel like since then, actually, he's come down quite a lot in form, and I don't know if he's been disgruntled, but I think his attitude's changed a little bit as well, to be honest with you. And I don't think his heart has been in United as much as it might have been previously, and I think that's shown on the pitch as well.
Well, he was going to go to Madrid, but was it the fax machine that stopped working? And that stopped his transfer going through, otherwise that would have gone through.
I don't know if there's how much truth there is in this, but I saw a tweet that he put out a few days ago, just the clown emoji.
Yeah, I saw it.
And he's come out and said that that's not anything to do with United. Of course it is. He was waiting for a new contract, only for them to then be spending 60 million on a different goalkeeper and let his run out.
Even United fans that I've seen on Twitter are saying they cannot believe how they've treated him.
It is
a servant of that.
But it comes back to what you say though about having that like rock solid defence and that goalkeeper at the back. I mean, how many amazing goalkeepers are also captains for their club, because having that stability and that voice is absolutely key.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was that voice for the last few seasons. He's not been that voice coming out from the back, and I don't think he's commanded that kind of respect. And like you say, like Petr Cech's a brilliant example of it, being a Chelsea supporter. But for years and years and years, we went to the Champions League and we had some awful fixtures, and we basically dug in, and it was Mourinho football, and there were really tight results. But you always knew if the ball got through, and like Barcelona, for example, Petr Cech was there, and you would know that he would probably save it. I have no confidence with that in De Gea anymore. I feel like if it's one-on-one with him, it could go very much either way. And for a club that's pitching to be top four, if not higher, you need more stability than that.
So I've got a question, Chelsea fan, because I am as well. Would you take De Gea to Chelsea on a free, or would you prefer Kepa?
Oh, I don't really like either of them. I'm honest with you. I wouldn't take him because I think we need to look to develop the future a little bit more. And we had an absolute issue when our issue really stemmed from the whole Cech-Courtois debate, when Courtois essentially said he wants to come back, but it has to be his first choice, and we had to decide, do we bring him back his first choice or do we let him go? And we probably brought him back a season too early. It disrupted everything really, and we've not had a decent goalie since. But to get he's had that wrong. I don't know where it's good for him now, because I don't think he's going to go into a team and lead it, but I also don't think he's going to go to a team and do that well either. Like,
do you think he'll go away Saudi?
Yeah, maybe. I feel like that's the sort of...
A lot of the good teams, they've already got their goalkeepers sorted out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So who would he replace?
The only team I could see him going to is fitting into perhaps like a Tottenham or an Everton, where Lloris is,
Tottenham have just signed a keeper, haven't they?
Have they?
Yeah, like literally last week.
Right.
I don't know if he's been signed as number one, but I'm sure they've just signed a new
But
keeper.
I can definitely see him going for a smaller team now, not one of the top European champions.
But is he not just another Lloris?
Who?
De Gea.
Yeah, but he's a younger version, so they'll be able to use him.
Is he much younger?
He's 32.
32. I think Lloris is like 37.
Right. Okay.
So
I still think he'd go to Saudi, I reckon.
Do you not think it was, as an outsider, it was random to see Mendy go? Was it not for Chelsea?
Shaky towards the last 18 months after that Champions League final, very shaky.
He started so well for Chelsea, though, man.
And his stats for Chelsea were
goalkeeper.
absolutely amazing to start with. But I mean, we've really struggled in. I mean, our defence isn't what it used to be at all. The whole defensive system, including goal, is just. It's kind of unrecognisable from where we were.
Your attack ain't much better, mate.
No, it's not.
Funnily enough, I think we had one of the best defensive records in the league last season. We couldn't score goals.
Yeah.
I actually, personally, I would say Chelsea's defence going into this season is probably one of the best.
I know we keep saying it, and I don't say it to wind you up. I do sometimes, but I'm not saying it now. I think the whole team is a mess. As an outsider, it just seems like you look at it and you're like, I just don't know what's going on over there.
No.
Do you feel like that as a Chelsea fan, or is it just us?
We've gone really weird as Chelsea. So what we typically did about 10 years ago was we'd have an amazing academy players and they'd be doing really well and they'd be at a really high standard, and we'd say, do you know what, we're not going to play you, go out on loan, and we'd go off and buy superstars or just good players in general, and it kind of worked. We then had the transfer embargo and we bought players through the academy, players like Gallagher and Mount, who should be, and Loftus-Cheek as well, who should be doing really well. Mm-hmm. And they all did really well. They kind of hit the ground running, but then they stopped. And their progression didn't really go much further. So like Mount, for example, he's an okay player. When he came through, he had a great season, but has he come on much from there?
No.
He hasn't. Has Gallagher? Not really. So we've actually bought in the players from the academy and said, let's do it. And it worked. And then they didn't develop any further.
But do you think that's because the mess you've been in?
Well,
it's the same as Havertz. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that we've bought Havertz from you.
I am.
Yeah.
But, say that, but he might flourish under Arteta because
depends where you're playing. We played him out of position the whole time he was with us.
Exactly.
Todd's playing as a number 9. He's not number 9.
Yeah. So I mean, depends where you're playing. He's a class player.
I've read he's going to be number 8 for us. That's that sort of role, which I think would suit him.
Doesn't he? I think he plays number 9 for Germany, though.
Does he?
Yeah, and I think he actually scores goals regularly for them up front.
I just feel
it's just Chelsea then.
Yeah. I think the way we play, I think a lot of players would play well at Arsenal because of the way we play. We dominate. We play good football. I think a lot of players at Chelsea aren't doing well just because of the situation they're in as a club. I think.
I'm at this stage. I'm optimistic. Our squad at the moment is a mess. We need to sell probably another 5 or 6 players. We need midfielders. I think we've got one senior midfielder in Conor Gallagher.
Who's a 100 million player?
Well, Casado, but he hasn't come yet.
No, Fernandes.
Oh, Enzo, yeah, of course. So we've got 2. Yeah. Gallagher, Enzo.
I don't even rate him.
This is how spoiled Chelsea are. They forget about their £100 million signing. Oh yeah, him.
We need a couple more. We need Casado. We've got Andre Santos. We've got a lot of young players, but we need a couple more in the midfield. Probably need I'd say a number 9 still. We've got Nicholas Jackson. But
I don't think we could have asked for a better manager to sort it out though. Because I mean, if you look at Chelsea and say, what is the Chelsea way last season? Like, what would you expect the team to play as? I don't think there's any real identity there, really. And now having Pochettino should give us some sort of identity. And you can have the best players in the world, or the worst players in the world, but if they've got no sheet to follow what they should be doing, you're not going to win matches, are you?
Did you watch his press conference?
No, I missed it.
He did. Oh, so good. This is like a different Pochettino to the one we saw at Spurs. The one we saw at Spurs, I think, was very placid, reserved, just kind of sat back, and he's happy just to watch his team go out and play and do well. You come into Chelsea, it gave me early first era Mourinho vibes. Cutthroat. I want to win. We need to go and beat Liverpool on the first day of the season. Saying things like that from a team that finished 12th last year.
Putting a lot of pressure on his own head.
He is in a way, but I think it's what Chelsea need. When we had Graham Potter, he was very much the opposite of that, and a lot of our players were checked out from his idea, I think. So having him come in completely surprised me. I'm really looking forward to that.
Do you think that if Potts gets treated the same way that Todd Bowley treated Potter, that he'll still flourish?
I think he will.
Like, in the sense of, there's no way that when Potter came in, all them signings were all Potter's signings. That was Todd Bowley.
That's been a problem at Chelsea for years, though, isn't it?
Yeah, the manager wasn't picking the players. Yeah. The owner was.
No, but that's because at the time when that early transition took place, Potter came in. Them signings are actually, funny enough, them initial signings from last summer were actually run through Tuchel. So all of our backroom staff went, effectively, and it was Todd Bowley, and who can recommend players we sign, call them club signings? Well, Tuchel, because he was the only other person there. And then obviously he got sacked like a week later. But now we've got so many scouts, people higher up working behind the scenes on actually identifying these players. And now Pochettino's come in as well. He's playing a role in it. So I think signing wise will be all right.
So taking everything in consideration, ideally or realistically, where do you think you'll finish this season?
I would like to say I'd like a Champions League spot, but I look at the teams ahead of us at the moment, and it's wondering how much we can kind of solidify in this year. I would take top 6. I would love 4. I would love 4th.
I agree with you. I reckon.
Do you think you'll get top 4?
My head says we'll get 6th.
Do you know what though? It depends on Arsenal. I will say, because Arsenal obviously last season they stalled quite a bit, but for me it was Jesus when he came in, because he came in, he hit the ground running, great striker, did really well. Then he got injured, and actually Arsenal carried on doing really well, and the way they were playing worked really well, and everyone was like lauding Arteta, saying this is going brilliantly. And then he came back from injury, and I feel like it was almost like, where do we put him now? Because we've been so used to playing the attacking football without him, and when he brought him back in, the goals kind of dried up a bit.
I agree with you. I think that was a mistake. As soon as he was fit, he was back in the team. And I thought, because Eddie Nketiah, I'm not a massive fan of him. He does well when he comes in. He was doing really well while Jesus was out. Then Jesus was fit, you never saw Eddie again. And I thought, that's going to come back and bite us, and it did. And I think squad depth messed us up badly.
I don't know what his scoring record was when he came back from injury.
It weren't great.
I don't think it was great.
No, it was noticeable. It was noticeable.
I think that really, really made a difference. So if you start next season, like, who's your starting team? Depends what kind of form he's on. I don't think you're going to hit the ground running like you did last time. So
I think another thing that played a part was we had Tomiyasu get injured, our right back, who was quite good when he was fit. And then Saliba got injured, which means we had to play Ben White right back, who actually did play well at right back when he was playing there, but we had to play Holding centre back. But we've just bought this Timber from Ajax. Again, I don't know much about him. You're saying he's a good player. He can play centre back and right back. 50 million, wasn't it? We've paid for him or something.
Something like that,
It's a lot of money for someone I don't know much about. Do you know much about him?
Not really, no. Just that I know he's highly rated. Yeah,
he's a decent player. They're trying to modernise the right back, aren't they? Where the same as what Liverpool have done with Trent in moving the right back from mid to midfield. Same as what Man City are doing with John Stones as well.
And what we do is Zinchenko on the other side. It's an inverted left back they call it, don't they?
Yeah, and I think that's what they're trying to do, and he's very, very good at that Timber.
I think that's something essentially that, again, I think we spoke about it last week with in terms of Arteta and Pep Guardiola coming from that model, that train of thought. Pep was doing that back in Bayern Munich. He moved Lahm into CDM from right back. It must work, so they're going to keep doing it essentially.
But I don't think it's cut and dry this season, because you've got to think what Liverpool are going to turn up, because they did better towards the end of the last season, but their season was a mess as well, to be honest with you. Arsenal, how do they solve that? City, I think City are pretty decent, but obviously Pep's throwing the spanner in the works by saying that he's probably not going to renew his contract at the end of his current period, isn't he? So is that going to disrupt momentum in the squad at all? Or
I mean,
they've got rid of players, haven't they? They've got rid of that Gundogan, which is a big loss.
That's a massive. I'm surprised they let him go. That's a big loss.
Yeah,
I don't think it'll disrupt them hugely, but if another team overachieves, then it could put the pressure on a bit.
Yeah,
I just think City have won the league already.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
They're just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. I think United could be in a shout as well if they get this takeover done and they get some more players in as well. They're making good signings. I mean, Mount, he can do a job for him. He can definitely improve their midfield. Their goalkeeper position's improved. So if they can get, another number 9 in, then they could be in for a shout as well.
Do you think they'll get Kane?
No.
He's been heavily linked with Munich, but surely he's not going to move away if he wants to get that Premier League record, goal scoring record.
I think Kane's going to stay at Spurs. I don't think he's ever going to leave.
Does he want to win trophies or be top goal scorer?
I think he probably... I don't know the bloke, but I think he probably wants top goal scorer, because he acts like it doesn't mean too much to certain degrees. But did you see what he did when he got top goal scorer for England?
No.
He bought what was it? He got basically found out every single player he'd ever played with in England and gave them like signed presentation for being part of his top goal scoring achievement, because without them he couldn't have done it.
Wow.
And I think it was a nice touch. I think if you don't care that much about top goal scorer, you wouldn't go to all the trouble of, he probably didn't do it himself, but finding out every player he's ever played with for England and doing a group big photo of it and all the presentation, etc. I think he cares about top goal scorer record.
So what, do you thinking he's going to stay in England then, overall? Not going to go to Germany?
How many goals is he behind Alan Shearer, do we know?
Well, still quite a few, I think.
I think he's still 50 odd, isn't he? I think behind
Which is what? That's 3 seasons, isn't it?
Or 2 for Harry Kane, really.
Yeah, 1.5 for
Harry. It's 2 very good seasons.
He always hit 25, really, didn't he? Roughly.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, the standard before Haaland came in, 25 was a stand-up season. 10 years ago, 30 32 was like amazing season, but most players usually get around 25. Salah broke the mould a bit.
Yeah, well, Salah hit it at 35, didn't he? And then Haaland beat him this year at 36.
Yeah, but there's loads of seasons where it's been 20s.
Strikers aren't scoring as much, are they? Yeah. Goals are coming from all over the pitch. Like Arsenal, we don't have a goal scorer that scores all our goals. You've got Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, Jesus, Eddie Nketiah. It's all over the pitch.
What's that? Everyone plays with that front three now, don't they? Instead of the 4-4-2 basic, where your two strikers would score your goals all season.
Essentially, though, that is a better model, I think. And I think it's saying that City, even though they had a fantastic season last year, they did ultimately struggle at times, and a lot of that was pinned down to their reliance on Haaland and really get the ball to Haaland, they score, changing the way they play. But I do think it's a better model when you scatter the goals around a team, because then if one of your goal scorers goes out, you've still got other players in there that are going to chip in. Whereas if you're relying always on your number 9, if he goes out injured, you're going to struggle to adapt to that.
I feel like Pep as well really, really managed Haaland incredibly well last season, because he could have probably broken a handful more other records. He could have probably scored a lot more goals, but he always made sure that he kind of kept him hungry, and he always subbed him when he probably wouldn't have subbed him normally, and he always kind of kept him shy of certain records, because then he's got something to play for this season. I think that's quite clever.
I'm not too sure on this myself, but I saw on an Arsenal Twitter page, an Arsenal fan.
Oh, there you go.
There was an international break at the end of the season. There was an international break towards the end of the season. Haaland had this mysterious injury, Man City said, and he didn't go on international duty. And everyone was saying if we had done that with Saka, if Arteta come out and said, look, Saka's injured, because he was clearly burnt out at the end of the season. I think I might have mentioned it last week, in his position, he played 8,000 minutes for Arsenal, Saka.
Yeah.
If you look at Man City's position there, their players have only played 2,000 minutes each, because they've got 3 players in that position. They've got Mahrez, they've got Silva, they've got Grealish.
Yeah, Foden even played as well if you wanted to.
Foden. So they've all played 2,000 minutes each, where Saka played every minute of every game. I think he played 76 games in a row, started 74 of them. It broke the record, and that showed at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Someone said Arteta should have said, no, Saka's injured for the international duty, just like City did with Haaland.
It's not just the games in a row either, but they were doing a study on football players, and Son from Tottenham was one of the focuses of it, and it was basically looking at the travelling and how that affects you, and you don't realise it, but they basically broke it down, the amount of times he travelled in a year, the amount of time zones he'd visited, and the amount of changes in time, all this back to back, and they were looking at the long-term effects of that. And it's, to play that many games is one thing, but to play it all over Europe and different countries internationally is... Yeah. That's got to mess you up a little bit, like fatigue-wise.
Very taxing.
And especially like South Americans. Yeah. Have they got further? Is that further than?
I think it's the time difference more than anything. Because even if it's, you get there, it's all relative. If you're on a plane and you're sleeping, it doesn't really matter. But if you turn up and it's 11 hours difference, and then you're back in 4 days' time for a different fixture, and it's 11 hours the other way, that's got to even your meal times are getting confused by that, aren't they?
Do you think that's played a part in him dropping off? Because Son has noticeably dropped off, hasn't he?
I think that was why he was part of the study, because he had travelled the most minutes through the most time zones. That's why they featured him as part of it. I can't remember the name of the study, but it's worth looking into, because they're still working on it, but they published some results, and it's very taxing.
So here's something a bit tasty. When you was talking about your Arsenal group chat, I thought you was going to come out with the rumours of Mbappe wanting to go to Arsenal. I thought you was going to go there. And that was going to set me off on a tangent.
It's just ridiculous.
That was going to set me off on a tangent.
He's not coming.
But then
it's not happening.
But then you think as well, like Arsenal, and we were talking about this in the group chat a little bit. They've signed Rice, 105 million. They've spent 50 million on this fullback, there or thereabouts. Havertz, what was he, 60 million for Havertz? And then you're looking apparently at Tchouaméni from Real Madrid.
Don't know.
That young French ball winner. He's apparently going from Madrid, either him or Camavinga.
Yeah, I'd have him all day.
How is Arsenal doing this? I know you done well in the league last year, but you didn't win any trophies.
I think people question City, and they're obviously being investigated. But the difference between City and Arsenal is we are massive.
Right.
No matter what anyone says, we're a massive club around the world. I think arguably we're the 3rd biggest in the country. And I said that in our chat, didn't I? United are the biggest team.
You said
no
many
argument.
Things in that chat, Josh.
Sorry?
You said many
but I meant this. United are the biggest team in the country.
Yeah.
You can't argue that. Liverpool are 2nd, and I'd say Arsenal are 3rd. Yeah, Chelsea have been more successful. Yeah, you've won the Champions League. But as a club, I think we're bigger. Would you not say that?
Well, I also think it depends how you're doing your paperwork and how you offset it against other years. Because Arsenal, until recently, I mean, your record signing until 5 years ago was incredibly low for a top 4 club.
Exactly.
It was like 30 million or something, which is absolutely unheard of. So I think the fact that obviously a lot of clubs nowadays are signing at different times or stretch over X amount of years to off-write it. Arsenal don't spend big all the time, so I think they've got a lot to play with jiggling it around a bit.
And our season tickets are the most in the country. Does that all play a part, doesn't it? All ticket prices.
Yeah, your income, isn't it?
Our Arsenal's income, I think we, maybe not, I might be wrong in saying this, but we're the top or second, like on match day, money made at the stadium. Like.
You're the top because everything's so expensive.
Well, but also you go in that shop, you cannot move.
Yeah.
No.
Like, it is full of people, and the shop's huge, and you're like that in there. Everyone's spending hundreds of pounds each. That's why we can do it. That's why people question City, because you look at City, their stadium's empty. Name me 5 City fans you know.
Yeah,
personally.
I probably only know one, and I think I
Josh
saw one wearing
that's the only one I know.
I saw someone wearing a top earlier, a City top, and I thought, I wonder how long they've supported them for.
Yeah, they're all young kids. They're all young kids.
They're all ex-United fans.
So you look at that and think, how are they getting this money to buy all these players? Because the stadium's empty. They're not a massive club. They're just not. They will be. Don't get me wrong. In 20, 30 years' time, they will be, because of all the younger generation now supporting them. You've got little kids supporting City all of a sudden that live in Ramsgate.
I will say you've made a compelling case, questionable at times in terms of biggest clubs, in my opinion. But
so you say Chelsea?
Why was you not doing? Why was you not spending this money up until this season then?
It's not this season. It's the Cronkays have only fully owned us since 2018.
Yeah. They've gone to overcommit, really.
They've taken over. They've now won the Super Bowl. They've now just won the NBA. I think we're now their main priority, I'd like to hope. And also Josh Kroenke, the son, has been given the reins at Arsenal, and he seems to be really involved, which plays a part.
I mean, we're all assuming that this is all fine, but in 2 years' time,
you never know.
You never
know.
120 cases against him.
It could happen.
I'll be there for it.
Could happen. You won't see me. I'll be gone.
I said it then after last season that I do think Arsenal overachieved last season.
Oh, massively.
I do.
Any Arsenal fan would admit that.
The only reason they finished or ended up where they was,
there's so many teams doing crap.
Yes, everyone else did absolutely awful. You didn't have where Liverpool normally challenge City. We had not a bad season last season, whereas we would have been up there.
But we did play well, mate.
As well,
we played so well. It's not like we were there luckily. Like you look at Tottenham. They finished higher than they should have done.
Yeah.
Like, they were losing every week, but they were fourth at one point. I'm like, how are they there still? Like, it just seemed they were losing all the time, but weren't moving down the table.
Everyone else below them was losing their games as well.
But we were smashing it. Like, to be ahead, I think we were top of the league for 93% of the season. That kills me.
That's got to hurt.
Yeah. Oh my God, that kills me. But I'm well happy with that season. I think all Arsenal fans are happy, apart from that Lee Gunner. I don't know if you know him.
It was a weird season.
Have you seen him online? What a twat he is.
And then we had that Conte meltdown as well.
What?
That Conte meltdown midway through the season. I wonder, it's going to be a weird season, this one.
I think it'll be a really entertaining season this year.
Yeah,
I do think City will win the league, because I just can't see. I don't look at any other team and think they're close to City.
Going into this then, what's your prediction for top 4?
City will win the league. I think it'll be out of Arsenal and United for second. And then third and fourth, I don't know. Well, obviously the other one will get third, and then I don't know who to get fourth.
I agree with you.
Maybe Chelsea, if they click. I think if Chelsea click, there's no reason why they won't get fourth. It's whether they click or not.
So you don't see Liverpool in that top 4 at all?
I'm sorry. I apologise. I totally forgot about Liverpool. Liverpool. No, that's it then. So it'll be City, and then it'll be out of Arsenal and United for second, third, and then Liverpool. Yeah. And then I just totally forgot about it. And then
maybe West Ham fifth, maybe.
No. I think it was, now we've got Declan Rice.
They're
getting relegated. But Poch wants to talk to Dele Alli.
Yeah, just to cheer him up.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything in there, but we are going for. Apparently, we're interested in Dybala, which I think is an absolute steal. Release clause to foreign clubs outside Italy is 12 million. That's how much we paid for João Felix on loan for 6 months. And you can get Dybala. Yeah, he's injury prone, but 12 million is worth a gamble, I think.
Yeah.
And Dybala's good footballer, good player.
How do you think West Ham will do this season?
now they've lost Rice, they've got a big void to fill. Do you know what I mean? Was he actually their captain or vice captain?
No, he was their captain. I think.
Was he their captain?
Yeah.
So, because I know he was vice captain for a long time, wasn't he? But their captain just wasn't playing. They need to,
replace him. But you can't replace him, really.
Well, they've gone in for that Harvey Barnes, haven't they?
They need to replace his player profile, but also the leadership
position.
as well. So I don't know. We'll see.
I think they might just be running a bit behind from what they achieved last season, and they might readjust their goals and say, we'll just see what happens in the league, really. Because I think to have won last season where they did, that's got to be overachieving for them, definitely. And then to lose Rice is a big, big loss.
What about like your Aston Villas that done really well? Brighton done really well.
Yeah.
Fulham done well, dropped off at the end slightly, but still done really well. What about teams like that? Do you think they'll be up there again, or do you think they'll slide back down to where they were?
I think Fulham will probably slide. I think Brighton will do well, and I think Villa will probably be about the same this season, in my opinion.
See, I would love to see Brighton and Newcastle do really well, but I think where they've now got the extra games come in, I think if anything, it's probably going to stretch because they haven't got the squad depth, have they? Really? So I think it's going to play its part to see how that impacts it.
Newcastle's a good talking point.
Yeah,
I mean, is Champions League a failure if they don't get it? If they don't get Champions League now,
well, they're in Europe this season, aren't they?
Champions League. But if they don't get it, if they don't get top 4 this year,
I think that would be seen as a step back ultimately.
Oh yeah, you would. Yeah, you'd say. But then, do we feel like they overachieved at the end of last season?
massively overachieved.
So, with the team they've got, they shouldn't have finished 4th.
But they're capitalising on it now, aren't they, with the signings they're making? They are bringing in Champions League quality signings to their
That's
team.
what oil money does for you, though, doesn't it?
But it's an interesting way of looking at it. Because if you look at when City were first taken over, it was a couple of marquee signings, like massive names.
Like Robinho.
Yeah. And it kind of got them in the mix a bit, just because the signings were outrageous. Newcastle haven't done that. They've got decent players, like Trippier was an absolutely steal, probably the best signing for me.
Isaac as well.
But when this season, when they start bringing in bigger names, is that going to disrupt it, or will it take them further on?
Yeah, I mean, do you think eventually Newcastle, because it will end up Newcastle City, won't it? Eventually, 10 years down the line.
Well, they'll be Man United as well if they get.
And United if they get taken over by.
Yeah.
In terms of money, but as we've seen with Chelsea in the last season, money doesn't guarantee results.
No, but it helps.
The coach.
It's won you the Champions League a couple of times. It's won you a lot of leagues.
But
you weren't winning them leagues until that Russian turned up.
No,
okay, but the players we had when we won the Champions League in 2012.
Yeah.
Okay, were players that have been playing for Chelsea for 10, 12 years prior to that didn't win it. And I think it was down to really, rather than ability, it was the desire that they won that Champions League. Like Drogba, he was 34. He wasn't scoring 30 goals a season.
No.
Yeah,
But he never did he? Drogba hasn't got a great goal scoring record.
I think he had 2 seasons where he did over 30.
2 seasons, but
Really?
overall he's more of a player that scores you the big, important goals when you need it. You know, he's that match winner.
Unfortunately, he was so good for Chelsea that we tried to replace him ever since, and no one else plays that role like he did.
No.
We flounced up.
I couldn't think of a player that plays like him. And he always.
Well, they all branded the.
Do you know what about him? He always scored against Arsenal, no matter what. He always scored against us, right?
Loved it.
And then he moved out. Did he move to America?
Turkey. No, China. Then he went to Turkey.
Might have been Turkey, right?
Yeah.
Then Arsenal pre-season. He'd left Chelsea, thank God, because he'd always scored against us. And we went to America pre-season and must have played against whoever he played for in Turkey. Scored against us.
Yeah.
So we can't even get away from him in America. And still there, scored against us.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, we can't replace Drogba. We came close with Costa.
Yeah.
Maybe Nicholas Jackson. Maybe he could be the answer, but I'm not confident yet. I need to see him, and I need to be sure. But I'd like that Osimhen, Vlahovic, one of them guys to come in.
Yeah, Juventus are in trouble, aren't they? So. Right. Call it a day?
Good, yeah.
Let's call it quits. We'll save something next week.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.